I would like to start off by kind of sharing my take on your response that you would need to survey the corrections staff in order to find out what the morale is. I can assure you from the many people I've talked to, the morale is low. They are very concerned about the rate of violence in the facilities. I don't believe they're concerned about the push to somebody in a facility and that gets tallied into the regular. This is the real violence that they're dealing with. So I have a number of questions to follow up on some of what my colleagues had said previously. First of all, one of the issues is drugs in the facility. Something that I've heard time and time again is to reinstate the secure vendor system, which is something they believe was helpful in the beginning. This has been a number of years and it's not been restarted. Can you tell me why something that simple would not be put back in place?
Well, Senator, it wasn't that simple. There were a number of challenges when we first opened it, and we had resistance from the one pilot facility where it was, and we had complaints from some of the legislature about conflicting with rules and regulations. And we had criticism even from conservative media, specifically that the policy that was in effect at the time prevented used books from being mailed into the facility. So we have to recalibrate. We realize that. We need to address a lot of nuanced issues. And I've asked the task force to specifically look at which sections of the directive would need to be amended. What's the best way to go forward? How do we develop a policy that will be acceptable to a broad-based contingency of different issues? There are many different perspectives on this issue. When we do it, I want to do it right. And I want the input of the rank and file, and that's going to happen through my task force.
So I understand that, but I believe that was started in 2018. So we're now on year 4. And the issue with the drugs in the facility has only gotten worse, which actually, is a safety issue for those who are incarcerated, along with those that work in the facility. So I guess I would ask, it's been 4 years. When do you believe this will be looked at and dealt with?
It is being looked at right now, and I expect it to be dealt with in a very foreseeable future.
And my next question is follow up to Senator Borrello. Unfortunately, my district is one of the districts who have seen 2 closures of correctional facilities, one in Watertown last year, which the department told those working there 3 days before Christmas that their facility was going to close. And then again this year with the Ogdensburg Correctional Facility. So I would like to know, as Senator Borrello, what is the list of criteria, and we've had this conversation before, that was used to determine which facility should be closed? Because time and time again, we get back to the violence issue in the facility. I have heard over and over again from those that work in the facility that the incidence of violence is low at the Ogdensburg Correctional Facility. But on top of it, many letters from those who are incarcerated there begging, not just me, but begging the governor, please do not close this correctional facility. We don't want to go anywhere else. Yes, we may be a little further from home, but we feel safe here. We've learned a vocation. We don't want to leave. If this whole thing is to make sure those who are incarcerated have the ability for a productive life afterwards, to keep them safe and also to keep our staff, our state staff safe. I don't understand, once again, why a facility like the Ogdensburg Correctional Facility that is not in the situation as many correctional facilities, one in New York City that I understand is not a state facility, but every day I read articles on how the safety of those who are there has really been bad. So once again, I just want to know, what did the department use to line out what facilities should be closed and what should not be? And honestly, it sure does look like some of these facilities are closed because of political purposes. So
Senator.
what was the criteria?
Senator, first of all,
Certainly wasn't looking at the economy of the area, which just is going to decimate the low instance of violence. The fact that those that work at the facility come to work every day, and those who are incarcerated were begging for the facilities to stay open. So once again, tell me what the main criteria was of how you selected these facilities to close.
Senator, you're correct. The workforce at Ogdensburg was superb. The facility was run in an excellent manner. There are a lot of factors that we look at. I bring in my entire executive team, my admin debt, my program debt, my security debt. We look at the infrastructure, we look at program offerings, we look at whether they have specialized populations, physical infrastructure, specialized medical and mental health services, other facilities in the area to minimize the impact to staff, potential reuse options, areas of the state where prison closures have occurred in order to maximize the impact to communities, and proximity of other facilities to minimize the impact of the workforce. The big story is the incredible decline in the population. The number of vacancies throughout the system are just astronomical. That's why I have a written staff ratio right now of 1.7 to 1. New laws that the legislature enacted change demands for prison capacity. The less is more. That affected both Willard and the need for downstate as a maximum security reception center. Other changes, the court system being really slowing down, the crime rates coming down, affects the entire system. Not an easy decision to make whatsoever. And Ogdensburg is a very difficult choice. So is Mariah. So is Southport. So is downstate. All of them, the workload facility.
Let me just follow up with two of the things you referenced. You referenced the money spent there, which there's a many $million-dollar project for the roof that wasn't even complete when this was announced that this facility would be closed. And you also mentioned reuse. So let's be real here. So Watertown closed last year. I don't hear of any reuse plans. There was supposed to be a meeting right after. I don't know of any reuse meetings that have been set up. Ogdensburg is the one building on the St. Lawrence Psychiatric Center that was repurposed. There are many big, beautiful buildings that are falling down to decay there. That was the only one that was reused. So the chances of that building being used again is pretty much zero. So those two things could not have been part of the criteria that were used to select this facility. So once again, I'm fully supportive of Senator Borrello's questions. I don't understand what the criteria was, and I certainly don't think Ogdensburg fit in those criteria. But moving on, I have one last question. The department's budget is what? What's the department's budget for this year?
Combined 3.45 billion, something 3.45, something along those lines,
Okay.
on capital and operations.
And it looks like the department, or the state for the Department of Corrections, received 3.1 billion from the feds from the coronavirus relief funding. My question is, that's a pretty substantial amount of money. Can you tell me where that went?
That was related to PPE testing, Senator.
So that was 3 billion just for
Yes.
PPE testing?
No, not all of that. It was all of the testing that we did. It was for the masks and many other expenses related to COVID.
Well, I would request, is there a way to get a breakdown of what that 3 billion?
Yeah, I will get you that. Yes.
Okay, that was my last question. Thank you, Commissioner.